Well, hello there. My name is Ben McGahee with McGahee Mathematics, and in today's video, we're going to look at graphing lines in the plane. So we're going to learn how to graph a line by plotting some points. So over here, we have our coordinate plane with the x-axis. That's the horizontal axis, and then you have the y-axis. That's the vertical axis. And the linear equation that we want to graph in the plane is y equals x plus 1. Y equals x plus 1. So we're just going to select some values for x just to put into our equation. We'll have 0, 1, and negative 1. So we'll just start off with some simple values to plug in for x into our equation, and then we can get our y values. So notice if we plug in x equals 0 into our equation, we'll get y equals 0 plus 1, and 0 plus 1 equals 1. So our y coordinate will be 1. And then we do the same for x equals 1. We'll have y equals 1 plus 1, which is 2. So our y coordinate will be 2. And then for x equals negative 1, we do the same thing. So y equals negative 1 plus 1, which is 0. So our y coordinate would be 0. So we have the ordered pairs. We have 3 ordered pairs, right, that we need to plot. We have 0, 1, 1, 2, and negative 1, 0. So those are our 3 ordered pairs, and of course we could plot more points, to create our line, but all we need is 3 points just to make sure they're all lined up together. So we'll use a different color to plot our points. So the first point we'll plot is 0, 1. So we start here at 0 and then up 1 for y. So there's our point for 0, 1. And then for 1, 2, we're going to go right 1 on the x, and then up 2 for y. So there's 1, 2. And then negative 1, 0 will be negative 1, 1 to the left. And then we go 0 for y, so we're just on the x-axis. So there's our last point, negative 1, 0. Okay, so once we connect the points, we should have what looks like a straight line. And as you can see, what's happening, on this line is that when the values of x get larger, you notice that the values of y also get larger as well, right? And you could see that when we plugged it in for, let's say, x is 0, we get y equals 1. And then when x is 1, y equals 2. But then if x gets smaller, the negative 1, y decreases, it gets 0. So later on in probably the next video, we'll see an important aspect of linear equations as far as graphing goes, a concept called slope of how the y values are changing respect to the x values for any given line. And so we'll definitely learn about that. Let's look at one more equation that we want to plot. Let's say we have y equals negative 2x. So y equals negative 2x. And we'll make our x and y table like we did before. And we'll plot the same values for x. We'll do 0, 1, negative 1. So, a question you might ask is, Ben, can I plug in any other numbers besides 0, 1, negative 1? The answer is yes. You can plug in any values of x that you like, both positive, negative, and including 0. But just to make the plotting for the line easier, 0, 1, negative 1's usually pretty nice values to use for x. So to the side over here, we'll figure out the y coordinates for these values of x. So we'll have y equals negative 2, and then x is 0 times 0. That's going to be 0, right? So 0. And then we'll have y equals negative 2, and then our x value here is 1. So negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. And then our last x value is negative 1. So we'll have y equals negative 2 times negative 1. And so we know from multiplying that negative times negative is positive. So that will give us a positive 2. So our three order pairs that we need to plot are going to be 0, 0. So that's at the origin. 1, negative 2, and negative 1, 2. Okay, so we'll use different color to plot this time. We'll use this light green. So the order pair 0, 0, that's just at the origin, so we can just plot that point right here. And then 1, negative 2, so we're going to go 1 to the right and go down 2. Should be about right there. And then our last point is negative 1, 2. So we're going to go negative 1, or 1 to the left for x, and then up 2 for y. So 1, 2. And then, so our point if we connect these 3 points here in green, our line's going to look something like this. So that's the line for y equals negative 2x. So what's different about this line is that you notice that it's kind of sloping kind of downward, when we talk about slope. And you notice that when the x values increase, when we get larger larger with x, what happens? That the y values start getting smaller, right? But then once the x values are decreasing, going this way, or negative, you see that the y values are increasing, right? They're getting larger. So we'll definitely talk about that in terms of slope, which will be in our next video. So, but again, this has been McGahee with graphing lines in the plane. We're going to check out the characteristic of slope in our next video and learn how the y values are changing with respect to the x values. So stay tuned.